The Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show is all about promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. If there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call. The number is 0788 280 9005.
Ready when you're ready.
A very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world. You're welcome to the Tony Tukumbo Fernandez Show, promoting the true life and success stories of African and Caribbean achievers around the world. And it's 2023. We still have some amazing guests lined up on our show for the rest of the year. But if there's a product or initiative you wish to share, feel free to give us a call. The number is 0788 280 9005. That number once again is 0788 280 9005. And we have some amazing celebrities lined up on the show this year. But this week, we're moving all the way to London to speak to a very inspirational woman who is doing amazing things and who continues to make a difference in people's life as well. She's a senior mortgage broker. She's also won quite a number of awards. And she was also shortlisted for the Women in Finance Award in 2018. Also won another prestigious award. And she's also here to talk about why it's important to get on the mortgage ladder in 2023. I used to work with her many years ago for Sony. So it's so amazing to see after so many years. Serena Franklin, lovely to see you to kick off the show this year. Unfortunately, virtually, because it will be lovely to see you in person after all this while. But I'm sure you have some very exciting things to say to all our listeners around the world today. But for the benefit of all our listeners, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and the things you're most passionate about in life?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for that introduction. A bit about myself. Well, I've been in the mortgage business on and off since 2008. And more recently, since the pandemic, I've started up my own mortgage firm. So yes, I am the senior broker, but I'm also the director of the company too. Yeah, so that's sort of my background in terms of mortgages. I've gone through the ranks in terms of training with mortgage broker firms and then working my way up. It's an industry that is full of surprises, lots of curveballs, and it definitely keeps you on your toes.
And we're going to be coming to some of those surprises later on. And I'm sure some of the surprises will be also good news for all our listeners in 2023, because there's so much gloom at the moment. But I know that 2023 is also a good year to get on the mortgage ladder. You've been in the mortgage industry now for over 10 years. What are your proudest achievements to date, whether it's in mortgage or business?
Well, I would say the proudest achievement to date would definitely be starting up my own mortgage firm. It didn't happen by design. It wasn't necessarily my intention. The pandemic happened, and actually I was at that point wanting to take a new career path. So shortly prior to the pandemic, actually, the outburst happening, I had handed in my resignation. I was convinced I didn't want to do mortgages anymore. So at that time, it was very difficult to enter into a new career path, to enter into a new field or a new industry. Jobs were very scarce. So then I was left with only one option, to stick with what I know. But I did it my way. So that was really what started off me becoming self-employed. Even to get an employed role as a mortgage advisor, that was difficult. And it really wasn't something that I explored too much because I knew the way I had been doing it under the control and management of previous firms, that I'd had enough. And I needed to do it my way and help the right people in the right way.
Now, we're here today to talk about how important it is to get on the mortgage ladder in 2023. Now, as a senior mortgage broker, how important would you say it is to get on the mortgage ladder this year, in spite of all the difficult times, in spite of all what we hear on TV, in spite of the high interest rate? How important? Cheer us up.
Right. Well, actually, I think this year is a crucial year. House prices are starting to go down. So sellers are, for the first time in over 5 years, starting to accept offers. We didn't really see this climate. It was probably around Brexit, before Brexit actually got signed off. There was a little bit of hesitancy in the market. So sometimes you were able to get a property below market value. However, at the moment, that isn't the case. What's actually driving house prices down is what's happened to the interest rates and what the press is saying. All the negative information out there is actually making sellers, they're convinced that it's not a favorable market. So they're already in the mindset that, okay, if I put my property on the market, I might have to accept an offer, which is fantastic for the buyer. So it's the first time that you could go and have a look at a property and put in what we used to call a cheeky offer to see if they would accept it. So offers are being accepted. Valuers, lenders are downvaluing properties as well. So there is the consensus across the industry that house prices are going down. So from that perspective, it's a great time. Now, Tony, you're probably going to ask me about interest rates. What's happening with interest rates? Last year, we saw that they hiked up. I've got some good news. Interest rates are on their way down. So since the hike, week by week, they've been going down. Okay, so they're typically within the fours. When it hiked, there were sometimes as high as 6%. So in some products have lost 2%, and actually they're down at 4 now. So obviously it depends on different variables, how much deposit you're putting down, etc. But in a market where house prices are going down, you're still able to put just 5% or 10%, which is a fairly low deposit. Typically, when house prices go down, lenders want you to put 25, 30%, and we saw that in 2008. They want you to put huge deposits down. And I'm not saying we're never going to get there, but right now we're not there, and it's not looking like we're going to be there in the short term. So now is a good time to get yourself an offer on a property, secure it below market value, and also you've got the opportunity to put down a smaller deposit. I don't know how long that's going to be the situation. I'm really not sure. We've also got Rishi Sunak going to do the budget in April, and we don't know what incentive he might bring about, which could really, really start to make the housing market look more desirable, more people buying, house prices go back up again. The demand is high. Right now, there's a lot of hesitancy.
I mean, what we have at this very point in time is just the present moment. And that's the thing we can only take advantage of right now.
Indeed.
What are the very basics, would you say, people who want to get on the mortgage ladder this year, what are the basics they should really look into at this very, very crucial time?
I think your credit score is key. You need to make sure your credit score is good. Now, there is something else as well. Lenders have their own internal scoring. So don't necessarily rely too much on the credit score, but it is a fantastic indication as to how lenders would also view your credit profile. It's not an exact, it's an indication. When it comes to a mortgage, there are so many different variables. And they call it scorecards. So if you're putting down a 25% deposit or more, the score you would need for that type of mortgage, where the risk is lower to the lender, would be a lesser score. If you're putting down 5%, you would need a higher score. So if you're putting down a small deposit, you really need to make sure your credit is pretty much squeaky clean. Okay, no defaults, no CCJs, no adverse credits, and no missed payments. However, if you did have a missed payment, it may well be declined at the credit stage, but a good broker might be able to put in an appeal for you, so that an underwriter can common sense check it and say, okay, it was just an odd mobile phone bill, it was £70, this is something that we're going to overlook and we're going to approve it. So you need to make sure your credit is good. Secondary to that is your employment status. Really try and avoid to change jobs or apply for a mortgage during the early stage of a new role. Reason being is, again, it doesn't necessarily make your profile look strong if you're applying for a mortgage and you've just been in the role for less than 3 months. So make sure you're not changing jobs just before you're wanting to apply for a mortgage. Ideally, it wouldn't be impossible for you to apply for one, but it's not advisable. Okay, because they want to see that you've had longevity in that role. So that's important as well. And if you can definitely have a second income. If you're thinking your main income isn't quite enough to get a mortgage, and later on I'll get on to what you might need and what income multiples you need to look at, and you want a second income to supplement that, fine, but you would need to have been in that second role for ideally 6 months, minimum 3. Okay, so you need to make sure all your eggs, if you like, are in a row. Okay, no, it's not eggs, it's ducks. Make sure your ducks are in a row before you start. And then also paperwork. Get your paperwork sorted. So you need your last 3 months pay slips, you need your last few months bank statements, you need your ID, and you need your proof of address. And can I please stress the importance of making sure the name is consistent across all documents, okay? Obviously, in our culture, we have middle names, we have 2 middle names, and sometimes it's not quite recorded the same in your bank statement or your passport, etc. Whatever you're using as your ID, driver license or passport, it needs to reflect the same across everything, your bank statements, your proof of address. If you've recently got married, decide whether you're Miss or Mrs. It all needs to tally up, okay? So that is a common thing that I do actually see, okay? I could go on, but before I go on, Tony, do you have any more questions for me?
Okay, we're not going to give viewers all the information because they're going to be contacting you so
Okay.
that you can, inform them of all the services you provide and what you can do for them. But also, most importantly, for the benefit of all our listeners listening today who wants to look into a career of becoming a mortgage broker, what's the process and what advice do you have for them?
Fantastic. Okay, so it's not as complex as people may imagine. There's a set of exams and they're called CeMap. The qualification is called CeMap. You've got CeMap 1, 2, and 3. You need to complete all 3 to be able to practice as a mortgage broker or a mortgage advisor. Different terminology is pretty much the same thing. How difficult are they? They are pretty difficult. They are challenging. You will definitely need to do your homework. However, there are some courses out there that you can basically learn the material within a week. And that should prepare you for the exams. The exams are multiple choice, but they do trip you up because you'll have several answers that are very close. So you do need to know the syllabus. But a good course coordinator will make sure you have the knowledge to be able to pass 1, 2, and 3. So there's typically 1,000+ for the week course, and then on top of that, a few hundred per each exam that you take, 1, 2, and 3. Okay.
Now we have your website details on the screen as well.
Fantastic.
So we're just going to give our audience a bit of a taster now. Can you just talk to our listeners right now, our African and Caribbean listeners around the world today, and talk us through the services you can provide from them, all the mortgage services you can provide for them, and how they can reach you as well?
Absolutely. So the services that I provide, mortgage brokerage, I'm the whole of market. I'm totally independent from any estate agent, and I'm able to source products from all the high street lenders, building societies, and some smaller financial institutions as well. Okay. I also arrange mortgage protection, that's like life cover, income protection, the whole array of different types of protections which you'll need. Also, I'm able to recommend some good solicitors as well that you're able to use, and surveyors if you wanted to get an independent survey. So that is really the scope of the services I provide. How I go about my service, very accessible. You can always access me, phone me. I make sure that you'll get a call back within 24 hours. Everything is pretty much done online as well. We have a portal, you can log in, you can upload things, you can see what I've uploaded. Everything is transparent with the way that I work. Okay. And I help you with the whole progression. So it's not, here you go, there's your mortgage, there's your offer. No, I then help you as well with the legal process, which is very tricky. And if you've never done it before, even if you have, you can definitely get stuck and frustrated with solicitors not answering their phones. So that's a service that we take care of for you as well. So pretty much that's the scope of what I can offer. Where can you contact me? You can email me, you can phone me. I'm on social media, but typically speaking, the best way to get in contact with me is via email or my mobile phone, which is all on the website, which is www.fmfinancialservices.co.uk, which is on the screen. All my contact details are there. Initially, I would suggest don't even worry about contacting me. My diary is on the website. Book yourself in for a first appointment. That's the best way to go about it. That's the quickest way to get my time.
And to put the icing on the cake, you're an award winner. I'm so proud of the amazing work
Thank you.
You're going to do. The first time I ever met you, I said to you, you should get into properties. I don't know if you remember that, but here we are,
no.
2023. You wanted to be a lawyer at the time, but this is how life unfolds sometimes.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, before we come to the end of the show, what makes your own brand and services unique?
I would say accessibility. The fact that I'm accessible, I call you back, I answer my phone, I reply to emails. Value for money. There's lots of brokers out there that will charge you thousands of pounds to progress a mortgage, to source a product, etc. You'll never hear from them again. They don't pick up their phone. I get clients coming to me all the time with the same complaints. A lot of brokers will take on too much work. However, at FM Financial Services, we're able to take on a lot of work because we've got robust systems and processes, and it means that we can literally give everyone a really good service and make sure we're accessible, and you can always communicate with us and get updates. So we're not precious about whether or not we are visible or not. We're not trying to hide from you. And you know what? I recently went for a mortgage with one of the high street lenders direct, and it made me realize just how unique we are in terms of the accessibility, because you do a mortgage at the high street over the phone, you never get their number, you might get the email, but they don't reply. It's not, it's really like a conveyor belt. You don't get that personal touch, and you really do get that personal touch of FM Financial Services. I'm really invested in why you even want the property. Is it for your family? Is it your first? Are you trying to build a property portfolio? Is it a probate? I'm really invested in the why, and that really motivates me.
Fantastic. And our listeners are motivated by listening to you today. I mean, on a very final note, what message do you have for all our Africans and Caribbean listeners around the world today? 2023 is January. Make them smile.
Well, as far as mortgages are concerned, I would say, guys, now is the time for you to get on the property ladder. I don't care if you've been refused before, whether you've had delays, whatever it might be, but let 2023 be the year that you collect the key. This is a year to collect.
So you've heard it from Serena Franklin. Get that decision in principle, tick all the boxes, and contact her. Amazing to see you after a long time, and I'm sure we're going to catch up soon. Keep shining all the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless you.
And you. Bye-bye. Bye.